What's up, everyone? Do you care too much? Do you sometimes feel like the world is falling apart around you? Well, you're in luck because today we're going to talk about how not to give a fuck. This is the
Woo!
Existential Stoic Podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. What's going on, Danny?
What's up, Randy?
Yeah, so this is a pro. I've been given too much of an F star CK about everything recently. You ever give too much? Like care too much about stuff?
Yeah, I think I do sometimes. I mean, I try not to, and I think most of the time I don't care that much. But like, there are things that do trigger my caring, and it's hard not to. And it's easy to get caught up in it too, where it starts, and then it just your imagination goes and just builds, and you start worrying and worrying and worrying. But I feel like with age, I care less, which is nice.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I like what you said where there are some things that you care about and some things you don't. Like there are some things I clearly don't care about, but then other
Yeah,
things that like I care way too much about. And it would just be like nice to find a happy medium for some of them. So
yeah, yeah.
that's why
Right.
we have this quick fix today where we're going to be talking about three simple solutions from me and three from you for how not to give a fuck. So my first one is to remember we're all going to die. So a lot of people
Yes.
care too much about everything, forgetting that, the Earth is this tiny little pinpoint blip in the universe, and the lifespan of Earth is a fraction of a moment compared with the lifespan of the universe, not to mention your lifespan compared with that of the Earth, like infinitesimally small. So why you care so much?
I'm glad you mentioned that one too, because I feel like that's like the existentialists really focus on that as well. And Camus like, mentions that a lot too. Like we're all gonna die. And so does this really matter that much? Like we make things out to be so important. But the fact is like we don't take anything with us. We don't do anything afterwards. We don't know what happens afterwards. And I mean, so what are we worried about? Why are you making
Mm-hmm.
such a big deal? Why are you making your life worse because of that? And like to your point too, like I don't know if you haven't looked at the new James Webb Wide Field view of like it shows you how small the Earth is.
Big tiny, and yet our conception of reality seems so immense and overpowering at times.
It is funny, isn't it?
And
We
it's
make
incredible.
do we make the most absurd things matter too? Like you hear people worried about like, am I gonna get the shoes when they drop? Or am I gonna it's like, who cares?
Yeah. It's like I'm trying to figure out my life 40 years down the road, and I'm losing it because I don't have my life figured out 40 years from now. It's like
I
what
know.
is going on?
I know. We're
Yeah.
just scared little animals that want security. That's the problem.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know? Well, that goes
Yeah.
nicely with my first one, which is everything matters only as much as you make it. And this now it's easy to say, and I think this took me a long time to really, and a lot of studying philosophy, honestly, to really realize. But it's true. Like I think we forget that they're like, we like to pretend that there's like objective truths and that things are this way or that way. But the reality is like they're only what we make them. And especially for things that bother us, what we care about, it's only going to be as important as we make it. So sometimes you just have to remind yourself that I am making this matter so much and I can stop making it matter so much. It's really up to me.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like most of our problems are just a reflection of ourselves, you know?
They all are.
It's like the problem isn't what we think it is. The problem is just our thinking about whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
It's it's so messed up. So my second one for how not to give an F star CK is intentionally embarrass yourself. So like a lot of people are concerned about how they look and how other people are going to perceive them and are they cool enough and are they this and are they that. Well, like back in the day when I used to do this pickup stuff, they had something that they called social, I don't remember what it's called. But basically you just go and embarrass yourself in public. Like you just make an idiot of yourself. Like you walk up to a beautiful girl and you'd be like, and you just, and you just do so stupid stuff. But like you do that enough and you just realize, you know what, it doesn't matter because as uncomfortable
Yeah.
as it is for 5 seconds or whatever, after that, it's funny, nobody cares, and then you become like invincible. So yeah.
That is, yeah, that's a really good one though, because it's true. Like most of us are afraid of like making ourselves look like an ass, failing, right? Making mistakes. But the truth is once you start doing it and you realize one, you can recover from it, and two, they actually most of the time, most people don't even register it. It's not even on the radar. You
Dude,
make it a big deal.
I can't even tell you the number of times when girls would just wait there for me for like 2 minutes, and I'd just be like,
Yeah.
uh,
He's gonna say
and they'd be
something.
like,
Hold
yes,
on.
yes. Are you gonna ask me out? Yes, yes, please.
Do something, please.
Yeah,
Oh God, it's funny.
yeah.
It's true though, right? I think that's a really good one. Is just let it. And that goes nicely actually, man, we're really hitting all these off nicely one to the next. So
Hmm.
my next one is let's pass go and have faith in the future. And this is hard, but it's super important because I think that you can't not give a fuck if you're constantly worried about or living in the past. If you're constantly thinking about all the things that went wrong and that's dictating your life, because the only way to really move forward is to move forward. And that just means letting it go sometimes, letting go of those bad relationships, letting go of those mistakes, those stupid choices, and do it right this time.
Isn't it so crazy? Like in the present, all you're really ever doing is sitting, standing, or lying down. Like that's it. But but literally we have billions of problems because we're so focused on fixing the past or the future. And it's like,
Yeah.
we're crying over spilled milk or we're crossing bridges before we come to them. And I'm so guilty of that. But it's like I spend my whole day trying to fix the past and the future when really I'm just sitting down, standing up, or laying down.
It cracks me up like all the time how like absurdly ill-equipped we are for dealing with
It's like
like
who designed us? Who
that's just that there's
designed
no
us?
design. It was just a random shot in a mess.
I know, right?
Oh God,
Absolutely
it's fun.
crazy. So my last one for how not to care is actually get up to something in your life. Like start doing something. I think if you
Mhm.
care too much, it's because you're not doing anything worthwhile. Like actually have something that you're interested in, that you're passionate about, that you want to get done, because then you realize how little everything else matters.
Yeah, that is so true too. Because once you find something that interests you, that takes center stage, and it could be anything. And it's funny. Like every time I think back, like when I felt my worst, when I cared the most, when I thought everything was going wrong, I wasn't doing a lot because you end up getting caught up in the cycle of like just imagining how shitty things are and terrible, and you're not doing anything to move forward. And it's
Yeah.
like that's the biggest, I think, hindrance, to
Yeah, when
caring.
you find something that you love and you're doing it, and then you realize how limited time you actually have on this planet that you can actually do this thing you love, you really don't care what the Kardashians are up to.
No. Yeah, not at all. Yeah, man, we were really hitting this awesome. That worked so well with my last one, which is focus on your immediate problems and start intentionally improving your own life. Particularly to forget about comparisons, because
Mhm.
that's where I think we also screw ourselves over. We look at other people and we're like, well, I don't have that house, or I don't have that money, or I don't have that. And it's like, well, you also don't have their whole life, and you aren't that person. You're your own person. So start making your own life. And then it won't matter what they have because you'll be too interested in what you have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's a great one, the comparisons. And that one, I was actually listening to an older episode of ours, and we sometimes we hit on some brilliant things in our episodes, I gotta say.
Occasionally, every now and then.
Occasionally. Yeah. If you put out enough episodes, eventually there'll be a gem. But we were talking about comparisons and how like you always compare yourself to people who have more than you or something better. And rarely ever do
Yeah.
you compare yourself to people who are worse off. Like you don't wake up in the morning and be like, "Oh my God, I still have two legs. This is incredible. There's
Yeah.
so many people who are paddling around on skateboards and I have two legs. This is awesome."
Yeah.
It's like that's not the comparisons that we make ever. It's more
No.
like, "Oh, but I don't have a Tempur-Pedic bed with the Louis Vuitton covers. Oh, my life, God."
Yeah. I'm not jet setting around and wherever doing this,
I
that.
know.
And what's funny too? It's like 90% of the time, it's stuff you probably wouldn't even want to do anyway. Like you
Mm.
just get caught up in thinking that that's how you should be living because that's what they're telling you constantly over and over again. So I
Hmm.
think like, yeah, I think to that point too of not caring, like you gotta live your own life if you don't want to give a fuck. That's the crucial thing is you have to actually live your own life that's interesting to you.
Yeah. So there you have it. How not to give a fuck. It is a subtle art, I have to tell you. And
It is.
this is the Existential
That's
Stoic
all right.
Podcast.
That's it.
I'm
Nice.
Randy. Oh, wait, before we sign off, check us out on YouTube, also the podcasting services. Guys,
Yes.
we're coming up on our 200th episode pretty soon, so it's getting pretty awesome. This is the
Yes.
beginning of season 3 for us. This is the third year we've been doing this. So thank you to all of us joining us on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I'm Randy. That's Danny. I'll see you later, Danny.
Later, Randy.